In the Courier Mail in 2013, an article was published about the issue of using a chemical called 2,4-D, which is one half of the compound Agent Orange, to control the population of invasive glory weeds along the coastline of beaches such as Marcus and Coolum in Queensland. Due to the questions that have been brought forth about this practice, this documentary will be looking at chemicals used to control weeds in Australia and America, and looking at the impact these practices have on the ecologically sustainable development in these two countries. Looking at the use of herbicides in Australia and America, the main active ingredient in herbicides used in both countries is a chemical called glyphosate, which affects the EPSP synthesis in plants. This chemical stops the plant from producing the enzymes and acids needed for protein synthesis to grow and survive. This effect means that the chemical is most efficient when the weed is still in the growing stages, but not maturity. It has been used as the main ingredient in various herbicides for more than 40 years in both countries, and due to overuse, many of the weeds that it is used to combat are slowly becoming resistant to the formula containing glyphosate. However, this has not caused an increase in concern just yet, as it still has a very high success rate after application during the growth phase of the weed's life cycle. In Australia, in 2014, a study was taken to determine the percentage of ryegrass that had become immune to the use of glyphosate and glyphosate mixes to combat the grass in residential and farming areas. In areas of high population density, a herbicide is applied more often to promote a more aesthetically pleasing environment, leading to a higher chance of plants creating immunity. On average, the Australian government applies 15,000 to 20,000 tonnes of glyphosate and glyphosate-based herbicides annually. This costs between $115.5 million to $154 million per annum. This is surprisingly cost-effective. A glyphosate is used as a pesticide in conjunction to a herbicide to minimise the need for additional chemicals to control pest populations. This usage is taken into consideration for the ecologically sustainable development within Australia by minimising the amount of money spent on pest control, minimises the excessive exposure to various harmful chemicals to the general public, and the more harmful chemical combinations that can be purchased need to be supplied and distributed to individuals and companies that have the proper training and licenses to safely apply the chemicals in various areas throughout Australia. Comparing the use of glyphosate-based herbicides in Australia to the use of glyphosate-based herbicides in America, there are a few standout differences. The map shown displays the areas of America that use glyphosate and glyphosate mixes in agriculture alone, not including glyphosate used for commercial and council use. The darker regions shown on the map is known as the glyphosate belt due to the area's higher glyphosate use. America uses, on average, 49,000 to 128,000 tonnes of glyphosate and glyphosate mixes annually. This translates to $377.3 to $985.6 million spent on this chemical a year. This large usage of the chemical has led to various problems within America, from weeds and pests rapidly growing in immunity to the chemical, costing the government an obscene amount of money and leading to American government using other chemicals such as atrazine, which has been linked to infertility in women. This means that the practice of using glyphosate and glyphosate-based products in America as a tool to control weed populations is not sustainably sound and needs to be re-evaluated to research and determine a new method of weed control that the country can sustainably run, without costing the government and taxpayers over $350 million to utilise. It means finding either a newer chemical that has been thoroughly tested for any and all health risks to the public as well as to the environment, or providing funding to ensure native and wanted species of flora outcompete the weeds. For Australia, the use of glyphosate as a herbicide is currently sustainable practice. However, steps should be taken to ensure that pest flora does not develop a resistance to the chemical to the same degree that the pest flora in America currently has. Research should be taken to look at other alternatives, such as the use of native flora or genetically modified plants to outcompete weeds such as ryegrass and glory weeds. Monitoring the concentration of herbicide chemicals in the soil and water in areas near where the chemicals such as glyphosate should be used to determine any and all long-term impacts this practice has on the environment and on individuals living in the areas to ensure no health risks arise. All methods of weed and pest control have their advantages and drawbacks, but it is up to the individuals that use these chemicals and the government to ensure that no long-term issues, whether it be to the environment, people, local fauna and flora, or the economy arise from the practice of using herbicides.